This is Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. So today we have 4 looks with the Natasha Denona Triochrome palette. Yes, 4. It was supposed to be 3, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So if you are new here, welcome. And if you're an oldie but goodie, welcome on back. My name is Ashley, and I have a doctorate in pharmacy, and that's how you get Dr. Ash and her makeup, and I love eyeshadow. So I was not going to get this palette. I was not going to get it. And I wasn't going to get it because, not because I didn't want the palette, but I was literally trying to talk myself out of it. I was like, girl, you don't need it. I was like, you don't need it. You love greens. You got plenty of greens. And I was like, you have Scarab and the chromium formulation from Natasha Denona. And then I was like, okay, I have a Cleona order that actually has shipped out. Yay! So I was like, you don't need it. I have FOMO, okay? So that's what happened. I have FOMO, and the Sephora sale is going on. So the palette actually released November 4th, which is right in the middle of the Sephora sale. So basically, you don't really have to worry about it like just selling out really quickly if you are a VIB or if you're an insider, because it fell in the middle of the sale. So I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna get the Natasha Denona palette, like, I'm not gonna be salty about it and get it when it's not on sale. Like, I do need that discount because this bad boy retails for $129. So, you know, as of lately, she's been doing the smaller little joints, which were $65, which I really appreciate. And I wish this one was $65, but it's $120. Now, with that being said, I like the packaging. It does have that dual chrome flip, and the palette is called a Triochrome palette. I actually really don't like that name. It's something about the Triochrome, and people are saying Triochrome. I don't like it. And then people are saying Triochrome, but it's a trio, but it's 3. I just don't like the name, okay? So this is the actual unicarton of the packaging, and you can see it matches the packaging of the actual palette. This palette is made in Italy and is preservative free, is oil free, has UV filters free, alcohol free, mineral oil free, paraben free, and is not tested on animals. And they do have a disclaimer on here that you should keep out of reach of children. Now, what makes this palette the $129 mark, it is 15 pieces of shadow, but this one has the bigger pans, so it's 35.4 grams or 1.24 ounces per shadow. So this is like kind of like similar to the Biba palette, and I don't have that palette, but I do have the Lila palette where we're talking about the same setup with the larger pans. And I mentioned bronze just a moment ago, so as you can see, this is the same setup, but the pans are significantly smaller, which I do appreciate this particular size more because I'm an avid makeup wearer, but I'm still not going to go through all of that because I have a larger collection. So what I thought I would do was I would flip the color schemes just to provide some different inspiration for the looks of this palette, and just to see if we can get some really pretty looks without sticking in the color story of each row. Natasha Denona does kind of design her palettes where you can just follow along a color story if you are confused about what actually to do. But as you know, in makeup there are no rules. So it was supposed to be 3 looks, because what was supposed to happen is Color Flip was supposed to go here, Scarab was supposed to go here, and Kinetic was going to go here with the coordinating mats that I just pointed out. But when I did the looks, I realized I messed that up. But the look came out beautiful, so I didn't want to take it off. And I was like, well, you're going to get 4 looks now. So you got 4 looks, and that's how that came. Because I just thought that there are so many videos right now on the YouTube space with just showing those particular roles. So I just really wanted to show the versatility of the palette, or figure out if there was any versatility of the palette. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and jump into the swatches, the 4 looks, and then we'll follow up with some final thoughts at the end of the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. My eyebrow is filled in using my Benefit Goof Proof Brow in the shade 3.75. And the primer I'm going to be using for all of my looks is going to be the Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Caffeine. And then I have a little bit of Anastasia eye primer on top of it, because this one is like more of a white one, just to give the shades a little bit more pop. Somebody was asking me in my last video where you get the Caffeine shade from. Unfortunately, you have to get it from the Urban Decay website. I really don't know why. It's actually quite annoying. The very first time I found it, I did find it in a Sephora in New York. But ever since then, I've had to order it from the website. And maybe once I got it from Sephora, I've been using it for quite a few years now. And for some reason, when they ship it, like they have to do ground, I want to say. It's a whole thing. So those are the primers I'm using. We're going to go in with Goss number 17 brush. And like I said before, we're going to kind of switch up the looks just to make this a little interesting and to see how we can, you know, play with these shades. I'm going to take the first shade, which is Ditonic, which is this peachy shade. So we're just going to build it up and see, oh, okay, what it's looking like. So you do get a little kick up in the pan, but it's not bad. And this color is actually really pretty. I think it's not showing like as bright as it should be like on camera, but and it's blending out really nicely. So I'm just applying this in the transition area, and I'm just going back and dipping my brush in and building the color up to how I desire it. So I wipe my brush off, and I'm gonna take that same brush and I'm going to go in with the shade Garmin, which is the shade right next to it, and we're just going to bring that down in the crease. So this shade looks kind of be like, I don't know. When I pick it up with a brush, it looks a little deeper. There we go. But we shall see. So see what type of dimension we can get. And then by me using this little smaller blending brush, it will like concentrate the product more. So it adds a little depth. I wouldn't say it adds a lot, but it would be a nice shade to use as a transition shade. I would say that. So I'm just blending that in. So I do like the way those two mesh, but I think either one could be like a transition shade, to be honest. And these mattes are smooth. Sonia G Worker Pro. Look at it. It's really, really clean, guys. It's clean. I'm going to go in with this gorgeous mustard shade, which is called Plutonium. And I am just going to pick this up, and I'm going to just kind of pop this in the inner corner. And this is actually really pretty. So I feel like this would be a great transition shade also. And those colors mesh beautifully together. And I'm just going to pop this here in the inner corner. We'll see how it ties in with the look in a moment. Now with that same Goss number 17, I'm going to go back in with that shade Garmin, which was the second shade we used. And I am going to buff a little bit onto the outer V. Just so like when you put these multi-dimension shadows down, like when you have a little color underneath, sometimes it just kind of helps give a little bit more dimension, even though. So you sometimes, if you want the multi-chrome to be like darker, of course put the darker base. If you want it to be softer, a little bit more daytime appropriate, do a lighter base shade. Sonia G Builder Pro, I'm going to take the shade Kinetic, which is the one in the second row, and we are going to pop that on the empty space basically right here. So this is what it looks like on the brush. Ooh, it's like a periwinkle, and it lays down really nicely. And right now I'm just kind of patting and then evenly spreading. So far with the brush, it performs really well. This look is a little bit more pastel in nature. And just kind of spreading that out. Now I want to see like what we get when we use our finger, because sometimes like shades like this, they just pop more. And then this one has a slight kind of pinky shift to it. Oh yeah, it's just more impactful. if you lay it down on your finger. So what you can do is lay it down on a brush, with a brush. Then you can go with your finger, or you can do vice versa. So, but just kind of adding that extra layer on. And I really like how it does play with that Ditonic matte right here. And then even that Garmin. It's a nice soft transition. It's a little different. So if you're scared, I know a lot of people have been telling me lately on my comments that they're kind of like a little leery of color. And they want to get out of their shell. This is a nice look to kind of do it because the crease is still somewhat neutral. So now with my Sonia G Builder Pro, we're just going to blend that together. And I think I will take a tiny bit on the Blender Pro of the Kinetic shade and just pop it in there. So I always need a little extra shadow right there for my folds and crease and meaty eyelids. All right, so let's see, that is looking cute. Now we did lose the shade Plutonium, but let's see. I'm gonna pop in with the shade Vortex, which was the, let's see, this kind of like eggshell shade. And let's see, let's pop a little bit of that in there. Oh, it gives a nice little effect. Okay. So for women who are of color, I would probably use this more as a eyelid shade versus in your transition. All right, so that's look number one. I'm happy with it. So let's go on to look number two. All right, going back, Wayne Goss number 17. we're going to play with the purple mattes now. So I'm going to take the shade Redux right here, and then we'll probably go with Tungsten and just kind of build our look up. Ooh, this is a pretty periwinkle shade. Okay. Okay, so I'm just building that in the crease and then just buffing that back and forth. Brush, I'm going to go in with the shade Naga. Right here, I decided I do want to kind of use it to buff out a little bit of the shade Redux. Okay, and it's just a lighter shade, yeah. So I think this Naga shade will also be very pretty to blend out the shade Manganese. So it just kind of depends on how you want to go. And I did bring it up pretty high, so it's up to you. Going in with the shade Tungsten. Ooh, and this one is very nice. Yeah, I like, it looks very light, but it provides a good amount of depth. So far, like, everything has just been very, very smooth, like Natasha Denona quality. Sonia G Worker Pro, we're gonna go in with the shade Manganese, which is the deepest purple, which is right here, and it's kind of like a berry shade. And we're just going to load that brush up and pop right here in the outer V. Pat that in, and then I'm just kind of taking the same brush and just working that into the crease and slightly blending it out. That buildup of that crease is nice. Going in, Sonia G Blender Pro, just gonna fuse that together a little bit better and work on this little outer corner. Builder Pro, going to take the shade Color Flip, and let's see how that is. That's the one down here. Ooh. So yep, I really like Color Flip with this particular matte setup. Yep. I was like, I feel like it will work. I like this one too, but yeah, this and Color Flip just seems, it has a little bit more oomph than the shade Kinetic. It's just, I don't know, this goes on a little bit more brighter. And can you see the shift? A little bit. This one you can kind of see like the blue shift. This one you see subtle. Now it looks a little bit, it's like kind of like a pinky shift paired with those purples. And I'm just going to take my finger and see what we get. Okay, so yeah, when you tap it on, you just have like, yeah, you just really kind of get that opulence, and it's like a subtle shift. So that's It's actually really, really pretty. All right, I'm back, and here is the final look. This for the first two looks. So I, for the sake of time, I'm just going to tell you what I did on my lower lash line. I just went in with my flat definer brush, and for this eye, I took the shade Manganese, which is right here, and ran it underneath here, and then I went in with Color Flip, which was the shade up here, and put it here. This eye, I just took Nomad, and then I also went in with Kinetic right here. So I like how both of the eyes look. They're really, really pretty. They're actually pretty neutral and probably pretty approachable for most people to wear. Now this eye is definitely my favorite. Oh, and the rest of my face details I will link below down in the description box. But I'm really liking how all the shadows really look. I wish this one had a stronger blue shift, just to be honest. But everything, the performance was really great. Now, I realized I made a mistake. I did not do my original plan. I was like, ugh. So, but it kind of works out good for you guys because you're going to get an extra 2 looks out of this, because I was like, I put it on and I was like, oh, well, it's pretty, I'm not going to take it off. So, and I might as well just show you another combination. But I really wanted to do Scarab with the purples and then Color Flip with the greens, because it has the this one has the green shift to it ever so slightly. If you can see it, it has a small green shift. And you know, purples and greens kind of really mesh well together. And so the way I have it now is just like only these two are flipped, and Scarab, I would still be basically using that with the gray matte. So I was like, I didn't execute my plan very well. I haven't had a lot of sleep. I've had to work overnight, so yeah. But like I said, it works out for your benefit because you're gonna get an extra 2 looks. So let's go ahead and get started on it. All right, so let's try out the green mattes since I didn't get it right. Wayne Goss number 17. Well, I get at this point we would be doing the green mattes anyway. So I'm going to take the shade Ion and I'm going to put that in the transition area. Let's see how this works. Oh, that's neon. Okay. Oh, that's cute. Okay. So, just gonna blend that back and forth. I really like the tone of this. Okay, I'm partially biased. You guys know I really like green shadow. Like, it just really does something for me. I really like purple shadow too. But a brush, wiped it off in my little makeup towel. Going in with the shade Vert. And I'm going to, oh, that's nice as well. Just going to run that right there. That blended out so well. Like, yeah. I mean, all the shades have blended out. I have not had a problem with a single matte. And I'm just going to kind of buff this out right here so you don't see the edge of the primer. Sonia G Worker Pro going in with Scrap. I'm just going to pat, yep, this row of mattes. It's just, I don't know, I feel like this row and the second row, you have some of the most dimension with the matte shades. So just wipe that brush off. Gonna pop in with a little bit of androdite. And I'm just going to, oh my, that's a vibe. You know what? You could wear these mattes by itself. I mean, I was kind of figuring that anyway. You don't have to be limited with the shadows, but this mint shade is a vibe. Sonia G Builder Pro going in with Color Flip. That was supposed to be the initial plan. Although Color Flip looks very nice with that second row of matte. So, you know, it was not a wash at all. And I'm just popping that on the lid. I like how this looks a lot. I can tell you that right now. I'm digging Color Flip with these green mattes. I don't want to cover up my mint shade because I like that shade. Oh, this is really pretty. It's soft, it's subtle. I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to place a little bit more shadow right here in my fold. It's very smooth, but sometimes with duochromes, I feel like you have to layer it a little bit more because of the shifting. It's just like, is the shadow there? Is it not there? And I'm just going to take, so if I take this number 20 by Refer and go in with Scrap, which is that dark color, see, you just get more of the shift. See, the deeper you place that outer color. So actually kind of what I envision with, you know, like when they were talking about putting a green in Divine Rose, especially Rose Decadence, just to give it a little dimension. This is kind of what I imagine. All right, so now we're gonna go back in with the purple mattes, and then we'll put Scarab in as our shimmer shade. Goss number 17 with Tungsten, and we're going to just use this as our transition. Right, I have Tungsten blended out and I'm very happy with it. It's actually a little bit deeper than it's appearing on camera. And now I have that same brush. I'm literally just keeping the same brush, y'all. I'm going to go in with the deepest purple, that's Manganese, and I'm just going to start working this in the crease. And on the outer V. Switching brushes over to the Worker Pro, going to pick up the shade, same shade Manganese, just popping it on the outer corner. Got that brush off, going to go in with Naga. And now I'm just going to pop that in the inner this time. Ooh, it's pretty when it mixes. I'm back in with the Worker Pro and Manganese. I'm just going to intensify the shade. There we go. Builder Pro with Scarab. Ooh, let's see. I love my chromium shade, that's Scarab. Ooh. This is very pretty. Like, I knew it would be though. Well, at least, okay, so you know you have a vision in your mind. And you're like, I really think this will work. And you just like kind of hope and pray it works. So I'm happy, it worked. Greens and purples go actually really, really well together. Like hence, if you've seen the new Beetlejuice palette, oh my God, I can't wait till that comes out. Go back in with that smaller Wayne Goss brush, the number 20, going back in with Manganese. Just gonna add a little bit more depth right here. And that's what you do when you want to see like more of the shift. You just put more of that color that it kind of shifts to around it. And this brush is going to build up the color quickly because it's very dense. Both of these eyes are like just too cute. Okay, so I'll be right. All right, I'm back and here are the last two final looks. So I just kept in with the same theme with the lower lash line. I just took that darker green color and put it right here, and then I put color flip here. Then I went in with the darkest purple Manganese here with Scarab here. And the lashes are the same, which are the Kiss Ritzy, and all my other face details will be down below. So let's talk about this. All right, I am back. So you guys have seen all 4 looks. So I think the looks came out gorgeous. Some were what I was expecting, some wasn't what I was expecting. But all in all, I like all 4 looks that I created. So let's go ahead and talk about the palette. Okay, so I really like the packaging. I like that it's the hard packaging. I like that it has the shift. I like that you can rearrange your shadows if you choose to, even though I never do that. But let's go ahead and really talk about like the performance. It's Natasha Denona. So first of all, the performance was excellent. There wasn't a dud shade. The only shade that I really was not feeling was the shade Vortex, which is this kind of you know, egg white or eggshell type of situation. But I mean, if you're a lighter skin complexion, it might be something that you truly enjoy. On me, it's just no. But I would say that a pleasant surprise would be this particular minty green shade. It was really beautiful. That is the shade Androdite. and all the mattes perform really well. You do get some depth. Some of the mattes do run a little bit deeper than what you expect, especially like this one that was Garment. So you do have a little bit of option. You can get some depth out of these looks, and then definitely if you're like crossing back and forth between the rows of color stories, you're definitely going to get some depth, especially with this deep green scrap and manganese. Those are your two most impactful, deepest mattes. Now, I feel like you can really build your looks up. You can go back and forth. You can stick within the color story and come up with some really excellent looks. I also feel like this is probably like maybe a dual chrome palette that kind of like eases people into color, because even though this looks like a lot of color and it looks so intimidating to maybe people who don't wear color, it's actually pretty neutral if you saw the looks and the matte situations that came out. So, I mean, you can build up your purple. It was soft. One of them was a little bit more periwinkle, which was the shade Redox. But all in all, it was still pretty neutral. And even with the greens, it's probably like the most step up. But when you pair the greens with the shade Color Flip, then it's not as all green as if you were doing just Scared. So I feel like you can get a lot of approachable looks. This is going to probably go over well with a lot of people who, you know, are not so heavily into indie makeup and, you know, those particular brands, and those like the Divinyl and the Cleona for sure, and Sydney Grace and Terra Moons that are doing like, and I know I'm missing quite a few, but it's so many indie brands that do like great, very impactful, heavily dual chrome, multi-chrome shadows. And this is just not it. It's more like a beginning, but I'm not mad at it at all. I think you get some really beautiful looks and the quality is impeccable. If you don't really like it for the particular shimmers, I would say that you do have some interesting matte color story also. So when I bought it, I was like, well, if I don't really want to use the shimmers, I was like, I have some great quality mattes that are interesting that I can kind of interchange in some of my palettes and, you know, kind of pick and choose before. Because I was like, these mattes up here are a little different. You don't usually see this orangey green. You don't often see the shade Aphrodite. And this one is really, really neon. And then you have some mustardies and some more muted tones. And then you have some periwinkle purples. Now, when we're talking about just the shimmer shades and the Triochromes itself, Scarab and Color Flip are going to be like your most standout shades. And Kinetic is beautiful, but I just wish it had more of a blue shift, or like when you look at this palette, you see how it goes so green, like, and then it's like purple, and then it's like light gray. I wish that Kinetic was more like that, because Kinetic is very muted, which is nice because, like I said, if you're not like on the color train, it's a nice way to like put your toe in and get acclimated to color without doing the most. But I just wish it had just a little bit more of a flip. I think that would have just really made the palette stand out a little bit more. But overall, I feel like everything that I put together came out really, really well. Like I said before, I also just kind of envisioned, like when I did this green situation with the shade Color Flip, that this is kind of like what people were talking about then when they wished that Pat McGrath had put like a green in Rose Decadence, or maybe like a green in Divine Rose too, just to kind of have like the stem of the rose. So I'm kind of getting these vibes from here. But all in all, I feel like the palette is really nice, and I'm glad I picked it up because, you know, I'm a makeup collector. I review makeup on here for you on YouTube, and all of the makeup that I buy, I'm wearing. Like, I'm wearing this personally. I'm not buying anything just to show you. Pretty much, I'm buying things that I'm totally interested in. But you have to make the decision. If this matte setup is not for you, do not purchase this palette because you're going to be upset. Now, if it interests you and you feel like you can work with it with the stories that I created on my eye, then go for it. But if you're buying it just for these 3 shimmers, please don't. Go to Cleona, pick out the few shades you want. You're gonna have to wait, it's pricey still. Or go to Terra Moons or Divina. They're gonna be having a restock during Black Friday. Go to one of those, or maybe just pick up like the Scarab that comes in the chromium liquid formula. And same with the shade Infrared Nude, and and Dragonfly that come in those chromium shades, because you can achieve the same look at a lesser cost point. I don't think like it's necessary for you to get this just for those particular shimmer shades. It's not worth it. Only if you're going to use the matte. So you have to be real with yourself. Like, don't get it, don't fall into the hype if you're not going to use the mattes, because it's just going to sit there and it is an expensive palette. So real quick, I did mention the color Scarab. So I have this in the chromium formulation, and I'll go ahead and swatch it for you guys. And I have shown this on my channel when it came out this summer. I really enjoy this particular formula. I have another shade called Dog Bane, but nothing that's comparable to what's in the palette. And this particular Scarab has more of a gold green, lime green with a blue shift. And we're just going to jump into the Triochrome palette, and we're going to pick up the shade Scarab. That's the powder formulation, and see if you can hear. So it's like some of the same pretty much hues and the flips of that particular palette. But I'm just gonna go ahead and swatch it right here. But as you see, like, you're going to get like that chrome finish that everybody's talking about when you use the liquid shadows versus using this particular powder shadow. I just brought you in a little bit closer so you can actually see what's going on my hand. So that, like I said, this is the chromium Scarab, and then this is the Scarab that's in the palette that I just did the looks on. Real quick, I do want to talk about two palettes that I have reviewed on the channel. Now, this is the Juvia's Place Valhalla 2 palette. I just did 6 looks on my channel with this particular palette. Now, if color scares you, like, this palette will scare you. But if you're looking for just the particular colors as far as the duochromes, this one right here, Fake, and then you have one in here, Money. This palette retails for $36, so way more affordable. I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick swatch of Fake, and here it is on my finger. And I will just go ahead and put it down right here, and then we will pick up the shade Color Flip. So this one has like a purple orangey flip to it, and it has some green in it as well. And here is the shade Color Flip from Natasha Denona. So this one is, they're both very smooth, but you can see the one from Juvia's Place, which is right here, definitely has more shine to it. But they are both beautiful colors. I would say the Natasha Denona is just a little bit more subdued. And then, of course, a color scheme that a lot of people can get behind, which is the Divine Rose 2, one of my favorite releases of 2020, and one of my favorite releases from Pat McGrath. This color story is very approachable, but of course this palette is very expensive, and a lot of people are interested in it for this color also, which is Extraterrestrial. And I wear this shade all the time across the lid, and maybe a little in the buff, so something buffed into the crease. So this is the shade VR Extraterrestrial. So I feel like it still has a little bit more slip than the Natasha Denona, but as you can see, all 3 shades are very comparable. So if the Color Flip shade was really speaking to you and you wanted to get it, I would recommend you getting maybe the Juvia's Place one if you did not want to spend $120. If you just can't deal with the color story of the Natasha Denona one and you can do the price point of Pat McGrath, I would do this one if you're trying to just figure out, because the Pat McGrath one it's really more neutral, and especially if you're a woman of color, it's beautiful. It's very neutral on us. I mean, if you're a woman of color, the Pat McGrath one is not so much neutral, but it really pops on our deeper skin. So all in all, I really like this palette, and I like that a lot of people are saying, oh, it's pastel and it's a holiday palette. But I actually like when brands come out with holiday palettes that you can kind of transcend through the whole year, and you're not looking at it like, oh yeah, that was their holiday palette because it's decked out in Christmas apparel. So like, this is something that's going to transcend the test of time. Not to mention Pat McGrath did also come out with Flora Fantasia as a quad. So pastels are kind of in right now. Overall, I feel like Natasha Denona did a good job with this palette. I would make some tweaks with it. Like I said, I wish the shade Kinetic was just you know, I just wish it had a little bit more of a shift to it. I feel like this is a very approachable multi-chrome palette, like I said, but if the matte color story is just not for you, I would not bother with it. I mean, let's be honest, there's more like multi-chrome in my earrings than in this palette. It's shade, but it's not shade. Take it as you wish. So let me know down below which were your favorite looks. Oh my gosh, I would say that the look I inadvertently did right here on this side, the second look, was really, really pretty. I really enjoyed that look. I really enjoyed this look. And then after that, third, and then my first one would be the last in my ranking. So let me know down below, did you pick it up? Are you passing? You just waiting for an even bigger sale? Let me know what you decided to do about this palette. Give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because you know I would love to have you here in my little makeup family, and we are growing, so thank you so much for all the support. And with that being said, you already know what time it is. It's time for the chat dance. Hey, 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 chat dance. Chat dance. Chat dance. Chat dance. Chat dance. All right, guys. Bye.